I'll start off from my left here. If you can keep the question focused, I'll do my best to answer it.
As a Christian man,
how do I defend the Bible or the Scriptures to those who are secularists or pluralists who don't view the Bible as authoritative?
You all heard the question. And I think, please give me your name.
Brad Hubbard.
Brad, I think the seriousness of that question for many, many years has been felt more in certain parts of the world, and now it is felt very seriously here too. Once upon a time, one could easily say that the Bible says so-and-so, and the listener would be very eager to listen to it, but now one has to defend the very authority that which you are, from which you are presenting your case. It is very important any time you are presenting the gospel message to an honest skeptic, and that's an important statement. Sometimes you will run across a dishonest skeptic, or one who's trying to really raise question after question after question, and is not really hoping you'll have an answer, but hoping you'll stumble so that everything can be set in reverse. But if you've got an honest skeptic, the way you start answering those questions is by asking questions of the questioner. And Jesus did this repeatedly. If you notice the number of people to whom he talked who came to him with a question, he questioned the questioner, because the questioner does two things. It helps the questioner to open up within his or her own assumptions. And number two, then it determines the entry point of the discussion. To start, for example, with a naturalist with the place of the miracles, it would be pointless, because the naturalist will just dismiss the possibility or the relevance of the miraculous. But on the other hand, if the naturalist does admit that there are moral struggles that we all live with, that we need to find an absolute in some way, then you move towards that argument that without the possibility of framing a transcendent objective basis for morality, you cannot really answer the questions of right or wrong, good and bad. Pragmatism is the only hope that we have. So what you're doing is building a worldview from the existential tug point of the questioner. And that's where you start. You start where the existential rub is legitimately felt. To cerebrally go with the documents of the Old and the New Testament, for example, as important as it might be for a theological student or a seminarian, to many a questioner, that is totally unimportant, or at least they just dismissed it as not able to stand up to the scrutiny of study of document authenticity and so on. So you have to go from a worldview and the particulars of the worldview at which the points are broken. I'll tell you why I find this so important. If you go to parts of the Middle East today, for example, where you will find somebody from an Islamic background who's becoming a Christian, 99% of the times, you can check this out, you will find the person who says, I have now committed my life to Christ from that former belief system, will say to you it either happened because of a dream he or she had, or a vision he or she had, or the loving example of another Christian that won them over. After they come to know Christ is when the apologetic struggle begins, because the need has been met existentially, and now the questions are being phrased. They don't know how to deal with the questions that are being tossed. So if God himself comes to individuals on the basis of their deepest felt needs and struggles, I think that's where we need to begin too. The woman at the well had all kinds of questions about worship in this mountain or that mountain. And he pointed out to her what her real problem was, that her life was fragmented, it was broken, her life was shattered, and he knew everything about her, and yet offered her the drink that would make her never thirst again. So I think you have to deal with it at the felt point of the individual struggle. The other intellectual issues are very real, but they're not to be brought in at an introductory stage, because it just leaves it in the cognitive realm without dealing with where the struggle really is. Now, if the person says to you outright, I cannot accept the Bible as authority for the following reasons, then you begin there. But if you are introducing the scriptures and the person says, I don't accept that, and you see in the conversation, say, why not? Well, I really don't believe a God of love who's all-powerful can allow so much of evil and suffering in this world. Well, then that's where you begin. the response, I think, you say.